Welcome in to the Gators Avalanche podcast after our first ever post game podcast. Not at all the game we were hoping for, not even a little bit. That game sucked. It was really bad.
I feel like we should have seen this coming, though, more that I thought about it. This is the first healthy game they've played since November.
I can understand where you're coming from, but also this, I mean, like you look at the basic forward core, it's the same. There's nothing really new there.
Yeah.
I mean,
like my problem was more with the defensive zone puck management, specifically Josh Manson, Erik Johnson, Devon Taves.
I just want to get this out of the way. Erik Johnson did not look like a guy who was playing for a lineup spot tonight. He looks
old, man.
He looked atrocious. I think he was easily. I don't know. He was the Avs best. I think he's the Avs worst player.
Him and Manson were pretty equally horrendous.
Manson was not very good. At least he has an excuse.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, EJ's old. He looked old tonight, man.
Oh shit! He looked old tonight. I mean, from the jump, this wasn't. I mean, the Avs just weren't. They were not into this game. Seattle dominated early. Devon Taves just gives up an absolute just gift.
I'm not here for the dominated take at all, actually.
Well, I guess no, they were dominated. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like they didn't have a shot on. I think they had like one or two shots on goal, and one of them was from the blue line. Before.
Early. I guess like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what
the
I'm
rest of the
talking
game. I wouldn't say dominant.
No, not the rest of the game.
I gotcha. Sorry, I'm looking.
It's just
I can't find a Sharpie.
Yeah, and Seattle made them pay, and I'll just say this right now. My only real concern from this hockey game is the fact that it felt like every game, it felt like both games the Avs lost against Seattle this year, and I like that's like not like I don't like I wouldn't take that as a big thing, but it's a little worrying that the Avs had time. They knew who their opponent was. They had time to they just didn't feel like they were truly prepared for it, but it didn't feel like they were. I don't know. There's a lot about this game that's just weird because the Avs didn't play good. That's an absolute fact, but they had chances and they also did a lot of damage to themselves in this hockey game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't think they played bad, but I think they executed bad.
This felt like the Kings game a little bit, where
it was better.
Yeah, well, that's why I said a little bit,
like a lot better. I mean, they.
I don't know about a lot better.
The Kings game, they got kind of like. They kind of just got smacked up and down the ice.
No,
in terms of the fancies, they did.
No, even that's not true. They created a lot of chances in that hockey game.
At least possession. This one, This one, they. I mean, 5v5 is pretty even. The Avs won the battle. It's probably buoyed by the third period a lot, but.
It is. They were 46% Corsi for, then 35 in the first two periods.
Yeah.
And the second period was really where I think this game was lost because the Avs give up a goal on a rush to Seattle. And then they have two power play chances, not particularly dangerous on either.
The second one was, the second one was good. For the second unit.
Yeah, for the second unit it was all right. And then they gave up an early goal in the third, and that just kind of they just didn't really ever feel like they were interested in they really like they dominated like the possession, obviously, but it never really felt like they were doing a lot. Like,
Yeah, a lot of
it was,
outside stuff.
yeah, no, and this was the big problem, and this is where, look, I don't like. I think Philip Grubauer played well. I think he played a lot better than a lot of people expected him to, but I don't think this is a game you're going to take away from him being like, wow, Philip Grubauer, you got to be terrified of this guy because he just did like, I mean, you're going to see like the expected goals for were 2 point, like he saved 1.5 expected goals. And that's, good. But I
Wow.
feel like you watch this game. It's just, I felt like, it's 0.68, 0.76, and 1.12.
It's
Like how much,
3.52 for the Avs expected
what?
goals.
Oh, is it?
3.52.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So, right. It's all strengths.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a
But
lot of
again,
this isn't like one big chance. He's not making these big saves. He's just making a lot of, medium danger saves.
a
So to
lot of
speak.
routine saves.
And I think, with Philip Grubauer, him, well, I mean, he doesn't handle chaos well. And what the Avs didn't give him a lot tonight was chaos. And part of that was because of what the Kraken did. They shut down the middle of the ice, but the Avs also didn't really try and get the middle of the ice very much. They were very content to throw pucks away. They weren't crashing the net a lot. And Philip Grubauer does not thrive under chaos. I mean, he's a small goalie. He gets pretty frantic.
There's some structural stuff that I want to see fixed pretty immediately in game 2.
What is it?
The D zone. Obviously, a lot of execution errors tonight and stuff like that. But I'm really sick and tired of them forcing pucks along the wall. Walls are random, man. The wall is a 50-50 play. And just tonight, the way it was going, they weren't getting the bounces. So I want to see them
They're skilled
use the
enough hockey
middle
team
of
that
the.
they don't
I want
have
to
to
see
use
them
that.
use the middle of the ice on the breakout. That's the main tactical adjustment I want them to use. I want them to use a forward in the middle. I don't want them to fly all three and use the wall. I want them to use one in the middle. Force Seattle to cover that, and then you can use the wall.
Yeah, you have to spread out the ice, spread out defenders, or else they're just going to be like, "Oh,
I
cool,
don't
you have
care
the
if you have
puck.
a
I know where
2-on-3.
you're going."
Right. I don't care if you have a 2-on-3 up the ice. Just pull up and hit a trailer. Like, it's just it was brain dead. Like, they would just push it along the wall, and they would just keep trying to push it up along the wall. And I mean, sometimes it would work, but
I mean, you saw it
it's
for
just a
Seattle.
50-50 thing.
They were breaking the puck out easily because they just kept hitting their centers because the Avs don't have a guy there.
Yeah.
Like, so easy to do. Like, you look at Seattle's. Compare the two D-cores. Who do you feel more confident in to move a puck to a center? The Avs or the Kraken?
It's the Avs, man.
It's the Avs 100 times out of 100. It's frustrating. And another thing that I would like is that Seattle. I saw not a lot of teams do this, but I've seen Seattle has done this and Arizona has done this. They know the Avs like to do a high cycle, and so they send the guy up high, and the Avs just continue to try and do it rather than try and work the puck down low.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive zone, I just feel like the offensive zone is just one of those things with the Avs that, like, it'll figure itself out, more or less. It's just that they didn't spend any time there because they couldn't get it out of their own zone, And
and they did.
That made it so when they got there, they would try to force stuff because they didn't want to like waste, like we have it finally, at the end of the shift. It just felt like they were trying to force stuff and instead of just playing the way they know.
Puck decisions and puck movement were very bad tonight. That was the real tale between the two teams. I didn't feel like the Kraken were turning the puck over at all, and the Avs were just struggling to string together two passes.
Yeah,
and it's
and I
can't win hockey games like that.
Nope. I mean, it's the playoffs, man. Like you got to execute.
You just need to be better. It's really simple. If you're the Avs, it's just be better, execute better. How many people are you like okay with their performance tonight?
I was fine with Cale Makar.
Cale
First
Makar
game back, I
was
thought he
the
was
Avs'
good.
best player.
Yep. I was actually I liked Eller, Malgin, Newhook.
That was the Avs' best line through the first period.
Yeah. And I guess I was meh on Bo and Gerard.
Yeah. Right. So, and that, you didn't mention MacKinnon, Rantanen, or Urod.
Or Lehkonen, or Comfort, or Nichushkin.
Yeah. And so that's where the problem is that who scores the goals for the Seattle Kraken? Eli Tolvanen, Alexander Wenberg, or is it Bjorkstrand?
It was Wenberg.
Okay, that's what I thought. And Morgan Geekie.
Mm-hmm.
Depth. That's what this team has. And when your top line is only going to give you one goal, you're not going to win.
I'm fine if the top line gives you one goal. They just can't get crushed like they did today.
Well, they didn't get crushed.
What?
They didn't get crushed. Well,
through the first two periods, they did.
Yeah, okay, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked after the second period. It was like 10 to 20.
Right, and so that's the problem, and that's the problem, and it's also something where you're like, look, how often does the Avs top line play like this? The issue with this game is that it felt like the Avs top line, especially, and a lot of the team was still kind of in a regular season kind of mode.
Yes, that's exactly what it felt like, man. It was the intensity just wasn't there. I don't question effort. I think the it's the intensity. Like it's
right.
You're checking with their eyes the whole game. Like they're just watching Seattle do. They're just watching Seattle do whatever they want in the offensive zone, and they're like keeping them to the outside and stuff. But it's like at some point you got to make a play. And
right. So you see, like there was a play where Erik Johnson has a guy lined up, can easily just put him into the boards, and he just follows him around. And I'm like, dude, like this is like your thing. This is like you're not very good at much else nowadays. You have to be good at this. You have to do this. Because this is something I know Jack Johnson will do that.
Dude, and that's where I'm at, man. Just if Jack Johnson is healthy, which
I don't know what the hell happened there.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I
didn't see anything.
It never ends.
He completed warm-ups. Like, I don't get it. But
he's old. He probably threw out a hip.
If he's even 90%, 85%, I would take 85% of Jack Johnson over whatever the hell we just saw tonight.
Yeah,
it was that bad.
It was super frustrating. I also I know like this isn't a thing against. Well, Bo and Sam weren't on a pairing, right? They technically weren't. I don't know. What did they? Let me see. Sam Girard had most of his time on ice with. No, he had most of his time on ice. And that's with Bo and Byram. I think, just go with Manson and Sam. I guess, I don't know.
Do Manson and Jack Johnson.
Don't do that. That will not go well.
And then do Bo and Gerard.
Just Bo and Gerard just haven't been very good at limiting danger.
I thought they're like, if they play like they played today, the entire playoffs, you take it.
Right. Well, yeah. Obviously, Bo and Byram still ain't lucky.
Nope. He's still young.
If there's one thing Bo and Byram isn't, it's lucky.
Right. Anyway, so that's my first tactical adjustment is that D zone stuff. And I think second, this isn't really like tactical, but I would take Erod off that line.
Really?
Yeah. I would put Lekin in there.
I could see that. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm not like,
In a perfect world, I would go Erod, MacKinnon, Lekkinen, and then I would put Rantanen with because
I mean, to be
Mikko
honest,
Rantanen
I think they should.
also just
Mikko Rantanen was
not good enough.
horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do anything. His goal, he missed on somehow. You don't see Mikko Rantanen miss on those very often. He wasn't driving play. He was
he didn't do anything, man. He just coasted through
individual moves. It's really frustrating. And another guy that you need more from is Valentushkin. He looked horrible. He couldn't handle a puck or do anything with the puck to save his life. And I talked about it yesterday. He needs to be able to do something away from MacKinnon and Rantanen at 5v5.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just with the puck too. He he wasn't noticeable on the forecheck.
Nope.
That entire line was really bad. I mean, I wasn't actually
top 6 lines, man. Just not even close to good enough.
Yeah. Hopefully, I think if you get Andrew Cogliano back, I think that's a good person to get back for the leadership and for like, like if they like get off to a little bit of a start like this, you throw Andrew Cogliano out there and he'll be like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Let's wake the fuck up.
Right. I mean, that gives you a really good, really good fourth line.
And a guy you're not going to play.
O'Connor, Nieto.
And a guy you're not going to play less than 5 minutes.
Right. I mean, Ben Myers, didn't really even notice him. So, I mean, yeah, let's just get into the goals. Frustrating game. I still just think if they execute, this series just isn't going to go long.
Yeah. Well, we'll go through the goals and we'll touch on that. This first one, I mean, I don't know really what you say except for Devon Taves. What you doing?
What the fuck was it? What the fuck was that, man?
Like, you're like, look, if Josh Manson
playoffs, bro.
Like, if Josh Manson does that, you're definitely still not happy with it. But at least you're like, well, there's a reason that you could possibly come to this.
I mean, Devon Taves was horrible the whole game. That wasn't the only one, man.
Yeah, it was
like,
yep.
He was awful. Like, it's the playoffs, dude. You cannot, like, you have to look like what's he see?
I legitimately don't know. I mean, he's the only one who passed to him right in like the center of the ice, but this wasn't like an unfamiliar sight for the Avs tonight. They were passing pucks straight to Kraken players all night.
Like, dude, just double clutch it, go back behind your net, run the breakout again. Like, it's not that hard. Just do it again.
Yep.
If you don't like your look, don't try to force that. And then nobody's there, because why would anybody expect that?
Well, and Georgiev makes the first save, but I mean,
unlucky bounce right to the guy's stick.
Right. And then the Avs get it back. They get a nice penalty kill, and their first line goes to work. Nathan MacKinnon makes a great play to Mikko Rantanen, who whiffs on the puck, but he's in the right position, so it still goes in anyways. And then you're like, okay, we've started. You get a shift where Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar refuse to be knocked down. They take it as a personal slight that any Seattle player would ever touch them.
That's what the entire game should look like, dude.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You score this goal, you have that shift, and you're like, okay, here we go.
And then there's nothing. The rest of the game.
And then they're just like, well, that was nice.
Fall back asleep.
We did that. We don't need to do anything else. And then they take, I mean, the first penalty was questionable, and then the second one is just bad from Josh Manson. Doesn't matter.
The first penalty is not a penalty.
No, it's not.
It's just not. And it sucks, but they did get momentum off of it, so whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good play. And then they come out in the second period, a 3-on-2. Bowen Byram just loses his guy. Alexander Georgiev has a bit of a
still just soft, man. Like,
it's not It's not yet. Well, I don't know if he has to save it, but I think it's hard for me to judge it just considering his like push was a little weird, so he
Can't
fell
fall
off.
over.
Right, and that's the thing. You can't fall over, but I have a feeling that might have been a
Got to be
goalie delay.
competitive.
Yeah, but I still want better from Bleau and Byram there because he's not covering anything. He's not covering the passing lane. He's not covering that guy. He's not covering any sort of shooting lane.
Yeah, I mean, it is a 3-on-2 though. Sometimes
it was a by the time that happened, it was a 3-on-2, and like I think it was JT was like right on the third guy, and the third guy was like 10 feet behind.
That can make a difference, man.
He has no excuse to not cover that guy. I feel like I understand it's like a 3-on-2, but he's not making any sort of competitive play on it in the first place. Like if it's a 3-on-2 and he tries to take away the passing lane, like and the pass gets through him, that's one thing, but he doesn't take away anything. He doesn't take away the shot, he doesn't take away the pass, he doesn't take the high guy, he doesn't take away anything. He's just there.
I guess I just still don't think, like, obviously he could have played it better, but I guess I just still don't think that's a very dangerous play. Like that you just need to save there, man. I really don't like that one, especially because he falls over. Like he makes that save 90 out of 100 times.
Probably, but it's just a thing. I mean, like if Seattle,
I'm agreeing with you and saying that Bleau and Byram should have played it better, but at the same time, like
right. Yeah, it's not a nice goal. I don't think it's like I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as you're leading it off to be. I think it's preventable.
It's just a reflection of Seattle. Like this is just what happens for them, man. Like they didn't do anything to the Avs the entire game. Like they just played the way they play, and the
Avs just didn't feel like
and they like it's nothing special. They didn't generate a whole lot. They just score. Like it's really weird.
No, they had
the puck a lot, but they didn't do much with it. And when they got the odd chance that the Avs gifted them, they scored because I don't know. It's just how they are.
Yeah, and then the Avs get 2 power plays in the second period. I touched on that. The second period was really bad. That's where they lost all of their energy because you're like, okay, first period, there's some lineup changes. You got out of it with a tie. You killed some penalties. All right, now you're into it. And then you give up a goal. You get a power play immediately after. You get another power play. You just don't do anything. They generated 5 high danger chances in that period. None on the power play.
Second power play was a lot better.
Well, they didn't generate any chances. It seems like.
I mean, at least they got the zone and they set some stuff up.
Right, but I mean, it's just I guess, but 2 power plays isn't like a huge sample size, but it still needs to be better. I mean, you're not going to get that many more in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about that.
Right. Well, no.
Mean.
And then
I'm more worried about just the game.
Yeah.
In general.
The third period comes around and you're like, okay, you know what? Seattle, they have a lot of guys who have been to the playoffs before, but they're still, the group itself is new. You literally are the defending Stanley Cup champions. And, you're like, okay, we've seen them come back before. They're going to really lay it on now. Nope. They give up a goal off of what's kind of a nonsense bounce, but also a bad read from Josh Manson and Erik Johnson.
It's both of them.
Yep. And
JT Compher's checking with his eyes again, and he's late to his guy. It's just crap. It's just horrible hockey. JT's guy was the guy who made the pass to the slot.
Oh, okay.
Just late to him.
And then they seemed kind of stunned by it, and then they just waited until there was 7 minutes left to turn it up. And then it doesn't help that Arturi Lehkonen got called for whatever the fuck that was.
It's not like it would have changed the outcome, man. I'm being dead serious with you. Like, if
Oh,
they weren't winning this game, they weren't popping
probably
too.
not. Look, I don't like complaining about the refs. It's dumb. It doesn't change the
believe me, it's a horrible call. I just am like, I just
but
don't really care.
but you don't show yourselves like in a good light when you do that, and then Nathan MacKinnon rumbles down, gets one clearly on the hands, and you're like, no, that was fine.
I mean, I left. So like,
yeah, no, I mean, when you don't call anything for like 20 minutes of hockey, and then you call that in the final 4 minutes, it's just like a weird. It's a bad call, and we don't think the Avs would have made a difference, but 4 minutes, you literally never know. I mean,
they suck at 6-on-5.
I mean, teams suck at a lot of things. Doesn't mean it doesn't work sometimes. It happens. Like, I mean, they could have gotten some nonsense. Who knows? But this is the thing, we don't know, and it doesn't really matter because it's not what happened. It's just, it's frustrating when you get a call like that at a time like that. It completely takes away any sort of anything.
That call also never happens if you play better in the other 56 minutes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. Then, yeah, so, I mean, looking forward to next game, it's just the Avs have now lost their home ice advantage, and it's really frustrating because this team just has been so aggressively mediocre at home this season.
Yeah.
And it's really just, I mean, it's not, you don't want to rely on winning games on the road in the playoffs because it's not easy. And now they have to, but they have to win game 2 first. And it's pretty easy
to win game 2. That's where you're at. You have to.
They legitimately have to.
That's what you get. Like, you win game 1 and then you lose game 2. You're like,
okay. Right. It's like, yeah, like in the Blues series, it's like, okay, you don't like it, but like then you just split on the road and you're fine.
Mm-hmm. You lose game 1. All right, well, you got to win game 2 now because you don't want to go down. You don't want to go down 2-0.
Right, and it's frustrating the way they played today. But if you want to find some sort of positive in it, as always, it's we know very rarely do the Avs play this bad twice. They have a high level of accountability, so I think they'll be much more prepared come Thursday. And I mean, more time with them playing together will, iron out some of these kinks. And like we touched on, there was a lot of things that the Avs did to themselves tonight. So if they could just eliminate some of those errors, I mean, they don't have to dominate Seattle. They just have to not wait until the third period to generate any sort of offense.
Yeah, they don't have to dominate. They just gotta sustain it a little bit more. They gotta play cleaner. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be dominant. It just that's not what it's gonna take to beat these guys. It's just gotta be better than that.
All you have to do is execute.
Yeah, just gotta be better than whatever that was.
Yep, and I mean, look. Fortunately, most likely there's no way to go but up for the Avs.
Yeah. I mean, you could play the same game and that would be, I mean,
the Avs did hit 2 posts tonight, so.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you play that same game, the Avs maybe win 3 or 4 of them out of 10.
Maybe.
Still, that's not good enough against Seattle, they're just unimpressive. There's nothing about them that scares you.
It's an unimpressive game, and I'll relate this to the Oilers game. The Oilers, they blew, they're pretty disappointed with their game 1 too. They blew a 2-goal lead. But when you, at the end of the day, Connor McDavid had 0 points for them. Do you expect that to continue? Do you expect
No.
Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar to combine for a 1 whole goal for you? No, you don't. Do you expect, do you expect your team to get barely crack 50 at Corsi 4? Not really. I mean, you don't expect Alexander Georgiev to have another game like this, hopefully.
It's just that second goal.
Yep. I mean, it's a frustrating result, but there's some things that you can look to where you could be like, okay, well, you don't expect this to continue, but at this point, the Avs have to prove it. This is a wake up call. They're not the team that can just, they're not playing the Blues or the Predators, who have literally no interest in being in the playoffs. They're playing a hungry team who's in their first ever playoff appearance.
A hungry team, but an unimpressive team. A team that shouldn't.
It doesn't matter. If the Avs don't want it, they're not going to win this. They're not going to win this series.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
So that's the thing. If the Avs just won it, then
they'll win.
Yep, they just got to win it. It's really simple, and there's no reason they shouldn't win it. They've been talking about it all year. Well, we just got to get to the playoffs. So, one ring isn't good enough. Well, they got to show it, because they didn't show it tonight.
Yep.
So, I don't know if 3 stars. I don't know if there is 3 stars in this game.
No, I just.
You'd have me be.
We don't have to do that. We just. I don't know. I'll say my last piece, and I think I'm good. I expect Game 2 to look a lot different. I expect the Avs to go up early, and I expect a good performance. And I'm going to be very disappointed if we don't see it. In hindsight, probably should have seen this coming, just based on, Manson, EJ, Makar jumping back in. It's okay. They've got to. I'm expecting them to play intense, crisp hockey in Game 2, and I expect them to win. And if they don't, it's going to be really hard to win this series.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's one game. Put it behind you. They did it pretty well last year. This is a different team, but their mentality needs to stay the same. You lose one game, that's great. Don't make it 2. Go win. They got a nice reminder that this is the playoffs. They need to be ready to show up on time, and now they just got to actually do that, because it's a pretty big game on Thursday.
It's huge.
It's a very big game. So we'll see you next time. And another positive note: the Avs weren't the only team, the only favorite to lose. Home teams went 2-6, and I wouldn't be surprised if every single home team that lost won their series. Not even a little bit, including the Avs, obviously. So we'll see it when we see it.